Hey there, it's Dawn here from Woody's Place Senior German Shepherd Sanctuary. And I just thought I'd take a break from the sanctuary and treat myself to my very, very favorite coffee place. It's right there, Black and Brass Coffee. No affiliation, just a shameless little plug for my favorite coffee place in the Hamlin, Hawley, Honesdale area of northeastern Pennsylvania. But I am here and I'm taking a little bit of a break from the sanctuary. Yeah, I was just chatting with the girls inside for a little bit. They're such friendly people and so nice, as are quite a few people here in this area. So I wanted to take a moment to discuss self-care for anyone who is caring for a senior German Shepherd or senior German Shepherds, senior dogs, senior cats. If you're a caretaker, period, maybe even people, you're caring for other people, kids. But since we do senior German Shepherds, I'm going to narrow it down and say if you're caring for senior German Shepherds, you're a caregiver, and it can be taxing. It can be really taxing on an individual being a caretaker. In fact, there is a something called caregiver stress, and that is something that many people, particularly women, because oftentimes women are the caregivers, succumb to because they don't take care of themselves, whether it be because there's not enough time to, or other reasons. And I have actually fallen into caregiver stress several times throughout the life of Woody's Place Senior German Shepherd Sanctuary. So just to back up a little bit here, I've been caring for senior German Shepherds officially through Woody's Place since 2011. Senior German Shepherds prior to that since 2007, and I've been a dog rescuer since 2000. So 22 years later, I'm not quite as young as I used to be, and it can be very, very taxing. Okay, if I don't take care of myself, because you know, I say a lot. Sorry about that. If you don't take care of yourself, and I have to remind myself of this a lot, if you don't take care of yourself, you're no good to anybody else, including your senior German Shepherd or German Shepherds. It's like when you're on a plane. If you've ever flown before, they do their little spiel in the beginning where they instruct you about if there's a need for an oxygen mask, that you are to put yours on first before you assist a child next to you or someone else near you. You are to put yours on first, because you are no help to others if you don't help yourself. And it's the same thing when you're caring for older dogs. Again, it can be time consuming. It can be taxing on yourself, both physically, mentally, emotionally, and you have to take care of yourself or you're no good to them. Okay, so here are some of the things that I've noticed that happen to me when I push myself too hard or too much. Because for those of you who don't know, Woody's Place Senior German Shepherd Sanctuary is a private residence. It is not a shelter. We get that a lot. I want to stop by the shelter. I want to see the dogs at the shelter. It's not a shelter. It's my house. It's where I live. And sometimes it's not my sanctuary due to, maybe having residents that are gravely ill at one time, which seems to happen quite a bit, or difficult personalities like we have right now, or other factors. Maybe there's just a whole lot of dogs at once, and for some reason, no volunteers. And then it all falls back on me. So when that happens. And I just want to add here, I do work in addition to the sanctuary. I do work. Okay. I actually have two different jobs. So I do work, and then I try to fit family life in too. I have a very big family. I have 5 kids, 5 grandkids. Everybody's all far flung. Nobody's, super close except for my youngest son. He lives only about 4 miles up the road from us. So there's a lot. There's a lot, a lot that goes into my life, and then Woody's place in addition to that. So when I find myself with caregiver stress, what happens to me is I have a real hard time sleeping. I have a hard time sleeping anyway, because as I've mentioned 100 times or more before, I do have ADHD. So sleeping is something that really does not come easily for me. But when I have caregiver stress, it's even worse. It's magnified. In fact, when I have caregiver stress, my ADHD symptoms are magnified tenfold. And sometimes it's really actually hard for me to make it through the day. Other things that happen to me are bad eating habits. I start grabbing chocolate or peanut butter. Reese peanut butter cups are my worst. And coffee, which I probably shouldn't be drinking. That's all I want to eat. Basically, is just junk, sugary foods or candy, something like that has empty calories, and it's just gonna spike my blood sugar, and then it's gonna dip real low in a little bit of time, and then I'm doing it again. So it's this vicious cycle that happens, and I don't love it, because then I start gaining weight. But I notice I do that when I'm completely stressed because of Woody's place and work life and all that stuff. And then, of course, that leads to depression and mental exhaustion. And then I also, not to get too personal, but I've said this before, I do have seasonal affect disorder as well. And yeah, I'm just a bag of fun. And it's very, very hard for me to make it through the long winters here in northeastern PA. So I get depression from that, and then when I have caregiver stress, it's again magnified tenfold. It's just hard for me to pull myself together. Sometimes I'm not showering like I'm supposed to. Sometimes I don't want to get dressed, or I don't care how I'm dressed. I don't want to do my hair, stuff like that. So typical characteristics of somebody who is depressed. I don't want to talk with people. I'm kind of cranky, all that fun stuff. And then of course I get sick. I end up getting sick, and I've noticed big time. Like when I have caregiver stress or there's too much going on, Christmas is actually a time of the year that I hate to say it, but I kind of dread, because in addition to working 2 jobs, running the sanctuary, and there's a lot of birthdays in my family at that time of year, and then we have Christmas on top of that, and of course there's celebrations, celebrations that I'm not required to attend, but I want to attend, but nothing's close to me. They're all hours away from me. So then it's like a day's worth of driving to get there for different celebrations, and I always get sick at Christmas time. I can count on it. No matter how much I try to bump up my intake of vitamins and zinc, and try to take care of myself, I just don't. And I always end up getting sick that time of year. And then I just can't decompress. I'm wound extremely tight, because there's just no time for me to decompress, because I'm, again, caring for these senior German Shepherds who some are quite needy, and still trying to manage all this other stuff too. It basically comes down to, it's just too much sometimes for me to do by myself, but I look around and help's not there. So I end up doing it myself, and I end up paying for it. Couple years ago, I go to my doctor's regularly. That's something I'm going to talk about here in a second. And my doctor was just shocked at my inflammation markers, and she said, you have got to cut the stress out. She said, you have got to, because you're going to end up paying for this. And it scared me to hear her say that. So I keep that forefront in my mind now. Like, I don't want to end up getting some horrible disease because I'm constantly dealing with inflammation because I don't eat right and I'm stressed and I don't sleep well. I can't decompress because I have caregiver stress. So what I try to do, and if you're caring for senior German Shepherds on your own or senior dogs on your own, here are some tips that I find definitely help me. Now, you may have some tips of your own, and if you would do, I'd love to hear them in the comment section. Really, this is something that we can have a discussion about. If you have some tips, some suggestions that you would love to share with me or others who are listening, please include them in the comment section so that we can all learn from each other. Because I have a feeling if you're on here and you're listening to this video, you're watching this video, you have a senior German Shepherd. Maybe you have a senior German Shepherd with degenerative myelopathy. Maybe you have a senior German Shepherd with cancer and you are in the throes of caregiving, and you don't know where to turn. So let's have a discussion about it. But some of the things that I do to help with my caregiver stress is I really do try to eliminate additional stress in my life. And one of the ways that I do that is I try to say no to things that really are just going to throw me off completely. Even if it's something that I start thinking to myself, wow, I really want to do that. And then I think, yeah, but do you really have time to do that? Or, you know, is it really going to be worth it in the end? And then I end up saying no. For instance, would be a friend of mine just last weekend asked me to go for a hike. So again, I'm in northeastern PA. I'm in the Poconos, you know, hiking central. I can go anytime, anywhere, just like 2 miles out my door. But my friend was coming up and wanted to go hiking, and I haven't seen him for a while. But I have bursitis in my hip, and it's been there since January, and I'm dealing with it, and I've been to the doctor and all that stuff, and I'm trying to take care of it, but I can't stay off my hip because I'm constantly up taking care of dogs. So I declined. I declined the hike as much as I wanted to. I declined, and I said, you know, we can do this again, you know, maybe a month from now or whatever, but right now really isn't a great time because I have a feeling if I go hiking, this is really going to aggravate my bursitis in my hip, and so it's not a good time. So I said no, as much as I would have liked to. It just wasn't a great time. So the other reasons to say no are maybe it's just something you really don't want to do. You know, it's a commitment you really don't want to do, or you feel like maybe you should actually be spending as much time as you can with your senior German Shepherd because you know they're not going to be here a whole lot longer. Say no. Just decline and say you know, you can do it some other time and then do it some other time. But give yourself the grace to say no and not commit to everything that comes your way. Other things you can do to help avoid caregiver stress is take breaks. Take breaks. You know, if you're caring for a senior German Shepherd or a senior dog, they're in your home. They're not leaving. I mean, they can't, but you can. If you find yourself getting short, aggravated, just really run down, thinking negative thoughts, crying, any of that stuff, complaining, leave. Just leave for a little bit. If you can find someone, if your senior German Shepherd's in bad shape and you can't leave, you can't leave them alone, find somebody to help you watch your senior German Shepherd just for like an hour or so, and then leave. Go like I'm doing it right now. That's exactly what I'm doing right now. I was actually having a difficult morning at the sanctuary with Nona. Big surprise, right? I'm sorry. I don't mean to sound like I constantly keep complaining about her, but it's been tough. It's been tough with her. She's not actually a good candidate for the sanctuary. But she's there, and I'm trying my best to deal with it and take care of her while I'm taking care of, sorry, I have cat hair on me and I'm allergic to cats. While I'm taking care of the sanctuary cats and the dogs, and then we have our own goats and chickens and stuff like that. And Nona, her presence has really thrown a wrench into the mix. And I was just telling Mr. Woody's place before that we've never been in a situation like this before with a senior German Shepherd resident. We never have. It's very interesting, and we are in uncharted territory here with Nona, and I'm doing the best I can, but I'm not loving it. And I even started thinking that she is going to be spayed in May. We can finally get her spayed in May. And if things don't change with her after that, not right after that, but after that, I may put her up for adoption. She may do better off in a place with no other dogs or one other submissive dog. Because what I've noticed with her is, now what I'm noticing with her is, even if she doesn't like Prince, and she targets Prince, but it's not just Prince now. Now it's Savvy that she's having a problem with as well. And I mean, Savvy's really good. So, like, I just don't get Nona. I really don't. She's got some serious problems. But take a break. Take a break. So Nona's home right now. She's in the office. She's behind the gate. All the other dogs are just out and about at the house with Mr. Woody's place. They're all fine. None of the other dogs have an issue. Everything's great. I left, came up here to get my favorite coffee, and then I decided to do this video. You can take a walk, you can garden, you can read, paint, write, whatever it is that you like to do, go do it. And that's my next one. Do things that you like to do. You have to carve out time in your schedule, even if it's just a small amount of time, to do what it is that you like to do. Because listen, no one loves going through life, and it's not good to go through life constantly going from commitment to commitment to commitment. I mean, that just sucks. That's like going to work just to pay bills. I mean, nobody wants to do that. You have to make a little time for yourself. And even if it's like 15 minutes here, 20 minutes there, even if you can't take, hours or a day to go do something, take a little bit of time. Go sit outside and breathe the fresh air. Anything. Just get yourself out of that situation of being caretaker and go do something that you enjoy and decompress. Okay, another good way to avoid or get out of caregiver stress is to exercise. I'm not saying go to the gym and start, lifting, dead weights or dead weighting or whatever or anything like that. I'm not saying go ruck through the woods, with 50 pounds on your back. If that's your thing, sure, go ahead and do that. But nothing makes me feel better when I have caregiver stress than getting out of the house and going for a walk. And we have some really beautiful places to walk here, absolutely beautiful places. And we are, fun fact, in the lake region of the Poconos, so there's like no shortage of lakes here. Seriously, like, you're no one unless you have a lake in your backyard. There's just lakes all over here, and there's plenty of places to walk around lakes. I mean, I'm 7 miles from Toby Hanna State Park, and there's like a 5-mile trail all the way around the lake. I am 2 miles away from Lake Wallenpaupack. That's 52 miles of shoreline. We have property at Panther Lake. That's only about 7 miles in a different direction. Promised Land State Park, my gosh, that's also about 7 miles. I mean, we're surrounded by lakes, and there's walking trails. So my favorite thing is to walk, and also to get myself in those lakes and to kayak. I love to kayak. So that's another thing that I like to do. I like to yoga. I like doing yoga. I try to do it at the house, but I always have a dog nose in my face when I'm trying to do yoga. I love to swim. Swimming is another great no impact workout. Like it doesn't, it's not a big impact, bad impact on your joints like running would be. But if running's your thing, do that too. So exercise, get out and exercise, change your physiology, and you'll see you start to feel better. You got endorphins flowing and you start to feel better and see things a little bit differently. And yeah, it definitely helps to change your physiology and get up and start moving. And that'll help you feel better. Eat well. Again, I do struggle with this. This is, yeah, that's probably my biggest struggle is eating the right things. But recently what I started doing was incorporating cut vegetables in containers in my refrigerator. So instead of, grabbing for chocolate covered caramel or whatever, I'm grabbing carrots and celery a little bit more. I'm not perfect. I'm still grabbing the chocolate, but I am at least grabbing the carrots and celery and broccoli and cauliflower, and I have it all raw cut up in the fridge, more throughout the day as opposed to the bad stuff. So I am a work in progress, but definitely eating better helps you feel better than eating junky stuff, again, like chocolate and Fritos and all that stuff, like I think a lot of women tend to do, because I've heard friends of mine say the same thing. Like one of them has a candy drawer at their desk in their office, and I thought, oh my gosh, I have like a candy cabinet. Like she has a drawer, I have a whole cabinet. That's not good. You need a cabinet full of carrots. And that definitely will help you on the path to avoiding caregiver stress, or when it does come up, to help you handle it better. Get regular checkups. That's another thing that's going to help with caregiver stress. If you are experiencing caregiver stress because your senior German Shepherd's a lot for you to handle, get checkups. Go talk with your doctor. Tell them what's going on. Make sure you get some blood work done. I mean, you should be getting that done once a year anyway, but maybe it needs to be done more often, because maybe there's also something else going on with you that you're not sure about that's exacerbating the symptoms of caregiver stress. Like, for instance, many people here in this area are lacking in vitamin D because we don't get a whole lot of sun. We have it right now, but it just comes out just enough to say, hey, I'm still here, but then it goes away. So a lot of people are lacking in vitamin D in the area that I live in. I am. Sometimes throughout the winter, I end up on a prescription of 50,000 international units of vitamin D a week. So, and then I'm always on it throughout the year, 5,000 international units. And when I'm not on it, my symptoms are definitely worse. With caregiver stress and just stress in general. So do get an examination and talk to your doctor about what's going on, and maybe you need to speak to a therapist too. And there's no shame in that whatsoever. Now, some people, maybe that you don't have insurance, maybe you can't afford to speak to a therapist, maybe you don't have time to talk to a therapist, and that's okay, but talk to someone. Yeah, you got to talk to someone. It's like a cancer to hold stuff inside that's really eating at you, and it helps to let it out. Even if there's no one there really to help you put things in perspective, it's at least better to get it out than to keep it in, and that's what I find anyway. So I have a really, really good friend. And yeah, her and I were on a video call thing back and forth, and we were constantly venting to each other about our different things, and that helps. It really does. And neither one of us are looking for a solution or to say, oh, that's just awful or whatever. We're not looking to add to it. It's just literally just to let it out and then we're done with it. That's it. So talk to someone if you are really having a hard time caring for your senior German Shepherd. And cut yourself some slack. Give yourself some grace. if you're having a bad day, let's just say, again, you have a senior German Shepherd. He has degenerative myelopathy. He's coming to the end of his life here. You've been caring for him for a year or better now with degenerative myelopathy, and it's just progressively gotten worse. I know. I've been there many times. Now he's to the point where he's just pooping right where he lays. He's peeing. He's having accidents. It's all over his back end. It's just bad. All right, it's not great. Give yourself some grace. If you're up typically at 7 o'clock in the morning, you've had your coffee by 8, you're all good to go, ready to start the day, whatever, and you're not doing that now because your dog's really just in a bad way, could just cut yourself some slack. If you're not out of your pajamas till 8, big deal. I mean, if it's not like you have a job to get to at a certain time, if you're home and you're the primary caregiver and you're there, just who cares if your hair is not done right? Who cares if your teeth haven't been brushed till 9 o'clock in the morning? Give yourself some grace to take care of the senior German Shepherd, and then take care of yourself when you have time or when you feel like it. I mean, I'm not saying do that all the time, because then that's just straight up depression. I'm just saying if you have a bad day, just give yourself some grace to have that bad day and then move on from there. Again, recognize when enough is enough, though. Okay, and that's my next one. You have to recognize when enough is enough. If you're really having too many bad days, and the reward the rewards aren't as great as the number of bad days, then you really need to ask yourself if it's time to euthanize your senior German Shepherd. And that seems to be something nobody wants to talk about. But we have to remember that this life is a process for us and for our senior German Shepherds. And there is an end. There is an end coming. And if you find yourself in the situation with your senior German Shepherd, and again, my mind goes to degenerative myelopathy quite a bit, because that seems to be a slow process where sometimes you just don't know when is a good time to decide to help my friend to the Rainbow Bridge. I get asked that a lot. When do you know? Well, I mean, there's just too many variables to answer when do you know, but I can say this: if your caregiver stress is just off the charts, every day you're having caregiver stress, every day you're feeling depressed, every day you have a giant knot in your stomach and you didn't sleep well the night before, every day you're feeling like you have PTSD because you're watching your best friend slip away, and you see that we're having another bad day. Yesterday was a bad day. Now we're having another bad day. And you have too many bad days in a row like that, that's when it's time. That's it right there. That is when it's time. When your fur friend really is not enjoying themselves and their quality of life has diminished to that point. They're having trouble breathing. They're panting a lot. They're defecating right where they lay. They can't get up to eat. They can't get up to drink. They're pretty much just laying all the time. Is that really the kind of life that you want for your senior German Shepherd? And do you really think that's the kind of life that they want? Because I don't think so. And I've walked a lot of senior German Shepherds to the Rainbow Bridge. In fact, all but one. Through the history of Woody's Place, all but one, and that was Rocco, and he was in foster care with our very, very good friend Sue. She walked him to the Rainbow Bridge, but all the rest were on me. And I can tell you, when I see a senior German Shepherd get to that point, that's when I know it's time. So that's how I deal with caregiver stress. And again, if you're caring for senior German Shepherds, you're caring for older dogs, at some point it's going to come up. It's going to come up. It's like caregiver stress in people. It really is. And the main takeaway I hope you get from this is, even though it can be rewarding, and it is. I love Woody's Place, and I love the senior German Shepherds that we've cared for over the years. through Woody's place. And even though it's been emotional and it has sort of taken a toll on me, it really has. I have friends who I've like cried to ridiculously, like ugly cried to, like, I can't do this anymore. And I don't know how many times I've said that. And like Mr. Woody's place, you know, I was really just saying it not too long ago. He's like, you say that, and the next thing I know, there's 2 more dogs here. It's like, it's true. It's true. Because I can't walk away. But when the reward isn't as great as it was at some other point, then maybe you have to consider whether you want to get another dog in the future. If being a caregiver, especially toward the end of their life, is too much for you to handle, and that's fine. I mean, I hear people say this. I just had somebody over yesterday who dropped off food donation, and she's in her 70s, and that's what she said. I mean, I've had a dog since I was 10 years old, and she said, I'm just ready for cats at this point in my life when my dog goes, and that's totally acceptable, totally fine. She has her boundary, and she recognizes it, and I think that's fantastic. Instead of getting another dog and then not loving that she made that choice. I totally respect someone who has boundaries in place like that and recognizes that they don't really want to be a caregiver to a dog anymore. Kudos to people like that, really. That's not me, but kudos to people like that who do that. But anyway, takeaway, take care of yourself. You have to take care of yourself or you're no good to your senior German Shepherd or senior dog, period. All right. I've gone on again for about a half hour now. I want to drink my coffee. I hope this has helped you in some way. This is totally impromptu. I didn't mean to go on like this, but I felt like if I'm feeling this way, now, I understand my situation is extraordinary. Not too many people have a senior German Shepherd sanctuary and care for a bunch of, senior German Shepherds. But there are lots of people who have senior German Shepherds, and quite a few of those people have more than one. So I just started thinking, I'm not the only one who is in a situation of being a caregiver and ending up with caregiver stress at times. So I wanted to just talk about it. Have a dialogue, open up a conversation, and I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments section. All right, folks, I'm going to drink my coffee now, and I will